Hello and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show presented by Craft Beer Nation. Today's Thursday, December 3rd, 2015, and we have Winter, head brewer, cellarman, salesman, and delivery boy at Oregon Trail Brewery joining us tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of Oregon Trail, where they are and where they're going. And when we get started, before we get started, I want to let you know that tonight's show is brought to you by our friends over at ManCan. These guys have absolutely revolutionized the growler game. Essentially, it's a growler that has a CO2 tap on it, and you can hook a CO2 canister, and you now can get beer from your local brewery and put it on tap in your fridge, and the beer will stay fresh just as long as beer in a can, because it's under CO2. You don't have to worry about oxygenating the beer. You don't have to worry about losing carbonation. The beer stays fresh. So the guys over at ManCan are revolutionizing the growler game. So be sure to check those guys out at mancan.com. And I think you can also reach them at mancan.beer. So pour that beer in a glass and get comfortable. And we're going to play the theme music. And while it plays, that'll be the perfect time for you to subscribe to our Pints and Quarts podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, etc., however you get your podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook. We tweet at CBN Community. We're on Instagram at Craft Beer _ Nation. And of course, you can also find us on Google+. All right. Welcome to the show, ladies and gents, beer drinkers. Tonight, our guest is Winter from Oregon Trail Brewery. We're excited to have these guys. Linda's always drinking local beer whenever we have a Friday night hangout, or even when we're doing Pints and Quarts. She's usually drinking a local beer. But before we get there, before I welcome Winter on, our panel is Lola. Lola, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. How about you?
I am doing well. And we have Linda joining us from Oregon Trail Brewery. How are you, Linda?
Good. Right here in the brewery.
And the man that just took the swig is our guest of tonight, Winter. Winter, how are you doing tonight?
Really well.
Awesome. Looks like you got. I'm doing well. I have no complaints, man. I'm hanging out with some friends and I'm drinking beer. Life could certainly be worse. So, looks like you guys are in a room. There's some kegs, some. What's that on the shelf behind you guys?
Yeah, well, we're in the brewery itself. Behind us to my left, I guess you're right. We've got a shelf full of party pigs, both cleaned and empty. If you guys have not encountered a party pig, it is a 2.5-liter bottle with a pouch in it full of vinegar and baking soda. And the pouch expands, the beer is dispensed by the compression, or not the compression, the expansion of it. The beer will stay fresh in that for about a month, holds about a case of beer.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Do you,
one in my fridge at home right now.
Do you sell them to people, or and they can bring them back and get them refilled, or how does that work?
Yeah, we sell them both out of the brewery, and we've got a couple of stores in town here that we sell them through.
Oh, that's pretty neat. Wow, they don't have that in my town.
They're fantastic. They are absolutely fantastic for parties. Really.
Nice.
They cost about $35 to get them from the store, but that's also with the deposit. So you give a deposit, you get a deposit back when you bring it back to the store.
Cool beans. So Winter, let's get a little bit. Let's jump into your history as a brewer. How did you start brewing? Where did your brewing roots take hold at?
I guess there are two separate things. First off, my grandpa worked for Rheingold Brewery back in New York.
Okay.
As I grew up, he was always telling me how much he loved that beer, and beer today was just terrible. This is no good. Back at the brewery I used to work at, we made real beer. This stuff, it's all crap. So I always had in my head that the beer now was bad, and it used to be good, and why was that? I didn't know. And then when I was 18, a friend of mine introduced me to homebrewing. We homebrewed in the dormitory kitchen of the school we were gone to. That was a really memorable thing. He actually got the rules at the school he went to rewritten about brewing. One of the RAs spied us homebrewing and was like, oh, they're going to have a container of more than a gallon of beer. I'm totally going to bust these guys for this. And the next day after we brewed, they had campus security and a bunch of people, and there was a big to-do, and they're like, oh, look, you've got a giant container of alcohol. My friend pulled out his hydrometer and took a reading and compared it to the brew sheet from the day before and said, oh, no, look. There's no fermentation. There's no alcohol in this. This is just a 5-gallon container of sugar water.
That's clever.
Oh, so you hadn't pitched the yeast yet?
Oh no, the yeast was in. It just was slow to take off.
Oh.
Yeah. So. So they were really frustrated, and they rewrote the rules so you couldn't brew on campus after that.
See, now I imagine these like campus cops going, "Those pesky kids, arg! I'll get them one day."
So you got started with your grandpa kind of instilled the curiosity to brew, and then college brought that curiosity to reality. So how did you get involved at Oregon Trail?
Oh, it's a bit of a longer story if you feel like hearing the whole thing. I guess immediately the short answer is I was the head brewer at Mazama, which is just about 2 miles away. And Mazama was run less than optimally, shall we say. And the owner said, you were the only person who had any experience. You trained everybody. Thanks for training everyone. We can no longer afford you. There's the door. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the owner of Oregon Trail and said, hey, I heard you're unemployed. Do you want a job? I was hired at that point.
Wow. So when was the Oregon Trail started? Obviously, they were going.
1987.
Oh wow! So they're pretty old and established. That's they're before. Well, class of '88, I think, is Deschutes and North Coast and those guys. Oregon Trail predates those guys, huh?
Yeah, okay. We're actually now the oldest independent brewery in the state.
Okay.
There are a couple that predate us, but they're sold out now. So.
Yeah.
Is it true that Rogue owns the original Oregon Brewery company?
Oh, I can't speak to that. I don't know.
Okay. So what's your identity as a brewery? Because obviously we don't get. I live in Virginia, so we don't get your beer over here. What's your identity as a brewery? Are you guys a hop forward brewery? Are you malt forward? Are you balanced? Do you guys like to try different styles? What's your identity?
I would say our defining thing is like old school as it gets. A lot of our recipes date from 1991, where the original founder left and a new head brewer came in. And we've got a couple that are still brewed exactly the same since 1987.
So do you guys do any lagering there?
No lagering. Okay. We ferment everything in Grundy tanks.
So
they're not very well suited for that.
What's your flagship beer?
We have 5 beers that we brew year-round all the time. So I guess any one of them could count as that. We have a wit beer. We have an IPA. We have a ginseng porter. We have a brown ale, which was called the most exciting beer in all of Oregon in 1989.
Cool.
Yeah, by no less than Fred Eckert.
A brown ale, the most exciting beer in all of Oregon.
In 1989, yeah.
That's awesome.
At that time it was, yeah.
Okay, so...
okay,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to name our 5th beer, which is called Beaver Tail Ale, which is in theory a Kolsch, but I've kind of dragged it away from there, and now it's fake Pilsner.
Okay. I tell you, that ginseng porter sounds really interesting, man. What is that? One of the recipes that's been there for a while, or would that happen to be one of your creations?
No. This has been brewed here since 1992.
You have a fascination with Belgian beers, though.
Oh yeah, Belgian beer is my personal thing, but the owner is very much against it. I've gotten one by him. I made an Imperial Saison using a blend of Saison yeasts and Pinot Noir yeast. Everybody loved it, but the owner said, this is too strong. I'm going to drive my car drunk and crash into something if I have 5 pints of this like I drink everything else. So
that's
not had that against.
I assume his approach is approachable beers that aren't going to, I don't want to say session beers because you probably got a few beers that are 6-7%, but he kind of wants people to be able to come in and have 4 or 5 and still be able to go home, eh?
Oh yeah. 3 of the 5 beers we make year-round are below 5% alcohol. So.
Okay. How big are you guys? What's your? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh please.
What was your output? Well, I guess it's a little late in the game. Try to ask you what your output was for 2014. But what are you projected to do in barrelage in 2015?
About 300 barrels, same
Okay.
as last year and the year before.
Okay. So you guys are kind of at that point where you found that sweet spot where you kind of want to hold steady right there, right?
Well, we'd like to sell more, but that's how much people buy. Yeah, we have a very small distribution radius. We're entirely self-distributed. I mean, as far as I can drive a pickup and it remain profitable for me to drop off beer, that's how far our beer goes.
So that said, I'm going to assume that the beer laws in Oregon aren't as restricting as, say, beer laws in, I don't know, Florida, where Lola is, or well,
Oh,
for,
sure.
for that matter, a lot of states in the South where they have a lot of restrictions on ABV percentages and how distribution is done. But I don't know how many states allow you to still actually put kegs in your pickup truck and drive it to a place and without going through a distributor. So I mean, I guess the overall culture of Oregon, it's really beer friendly there, so that works well for you guys.
Yeah, the laws and the way things worked out here just go hand in hand. It's no coincidence.
Yeah, you guys get to cut out that middleman and get the beer to the taps at a probably a little lower price than would be the case if you were going through a distributor.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's about 20% more to go through a distributor.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's great. Up to 10,000 barrels, you're allowed to self-distribute around here.
I was looking at your website. What is this about catering? You have some kind of beer catering or something?
The whole this whole complex is actually part of the Old World Deli. Is right next to the actual brewery, which we're in right now.
Okay.
So that's where the catering comes from, right?
Presumably, unless you mean we got an old 1950s truck with the back is made up to look like a Conestoga wagon.
That's it.
Yeah. If someone orders 3 or more kegs, the owner will drive this big Conestoga wagon out, this antique truck, and serve beer right out of the truck to you.
That's so awesome.
And September Fest.
It's
always at September Fest. So
yeah, it's great for a festival because other people show up and they've got just like a trailer with little holes drilled in it and a tap on the side. But we've got this, I think it's a 1957 Chevy pickup with the Conestoga wagon top on it. It's pretty impressive looking.
That would be the best picnic ever.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's iconic when people see that pickup truck. They know exactly who that is, right?
Oh yeah. It's our best bit of advertisement. We got it parked just right on the side of a major road here in Corvallis. So that's usually how people know us. Oh, I saw your truck.
That's awesome. Linda, you're there like seemingly at least once a week. What's your favorite beer? Oh my goodness, drinking out of a horn. That is winning.
Yeah, I know.
That is winning. Linda, what do you normally get when you go there? Well, first of all, Linda, what are you drinking right now?
Right now, actually, I'm gonna let Winther tell you about this one. This is my ultimate favorite, which is a bourbon barrel stout. I don't know what yeast you use in it or how you get it to taste like bourbon.
Oh.
But it's bourbon in the smell, it's bourbon in the taste, but it's not obnoxious. It doesn't overwhelm you. It's just really tasty.
They left a little bit of bourbon in the barrel. That's what
yeah.
you do.
One of the advantages of having been around for so long is the owner knows everybody since forever. So he knows a guy at the Buffalo Trace Distillery who will send us the best barrels that can be got because these guys have been buddies for 20-something years.
This day and age, that's a good end to have. I'm going to tell you, because with the price of bourbon barrels now, to have that relationship, that's definitely in your favor, man.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the last brewery I worked at, we couldn't get barrels from down the road for the price he gets them here, or the quantity. I mean, they just say to him, "How many barrels do you want?" And he tells them that's how many we get. We've never had an issue getting them.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting the relationships that go on between. That's why I'm so into the local breweries. The relationships that go on between all the local breweries is fantastic. A lot of cooperation goes on.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, brewing's been going on in Oregon since forever. So I'm assuming a lot of the guys, especially the ones who have been around for a while they've had long-standing relationships, so kind of tailors itself to that.
Oh,
So-
definitely. Yeah, particularly here in Corvallis.
Mhm.
Actually, partially on account of this brewery, pretty much everyone in town has worked in here at some point or another.
The
So
the training brewery.
Do you guys do any collaborations with any of the local breweries around?
Yeah, actually, we got one in the works right now. It's actually even better than a collaboration with local breweries. I went to every single bar in town that we normally sell to, and I said, what beer can I make that you'd be interested in buying, like something you don't usually get? And I got feedback from everybody, and I made a recipe, and then bounced it off everybody. So this is not going to be primarily collaboration between Oregon Trail and Sky High, but it's really collaboration between us and like 8 other bars. All
Is it top
tweaked and
secret?
tailored to...
Is it top secret, or can you release some details about it? No one's gonna know.
It's not fully worked out yet, but it's going to be something halfway between, I shouldn't say half, but between an Imperial Brown Ale, a barley wine, a Belgian wit beer, and just something else entirely, because it's using the wrong yeast for any of those.
You said instead of damn the torpedoes, you guys said damn the BJCP.
Oh, completely. I'm against it.
We're gonna make a beer our own style.
Or you're using a little bit of every style. All
Sure,
put
sure.
Together.
Oh, and honey too. So this is also a braggot.
There you go. The name of this beer is called Inclusive. That's it. Just
Could
a
be.
little.
We don't got a name yet. Maybe that's going to be it.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's
You're
actually a
welcome.
pretty good name, yeah.
Next one, I'm gonna charge you for.
Sure.
So look, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk. Well, I'm gonna go first and talk about this article about the folks at Ballast Point. As we all know, as it's been in the news recently, Ballast Point sold to the Constellation Group for a large sum of money, and somebody robbed them. I think Ballast Point has like maybe 3 or 4 locations in San Diego, and somebody robbed one of the locations at gunpoint.
I did not know that.
And well, I mean, and the thing is, like, first of all, you know that $1 billion ain't there, right? Just saying. Just because.
But is it, I mean, could that have been a vengeance maneuver? Just a little bit.
Vengeance from like a craft beer nerd and
Yeah.
pissed off. I mean,
I'd be surprised.
I like to think that people who like to imbibe in this delicious nectar that we call craft beer tend to have a little more sense than to get mad to the point where you're gonna go and arm rob a brewery for selling out. I mean, this isn't new. I mean, breweries have been selling out for several years now, so it's not. I mean, when it happens now, none of us are even surprised. I mean, we might be surprised because of who it is, but we're not surprised that craft breweries are being poached by the big guys. So to get that mad, if it is a act of vengeance, then this person should be on somebody's watch list because they're probably capable of doing a lot of other really, really stupid things. That's just my opinion.
And I've heard of voting with your dollar, but I've never heard of voting by taking a dollar.
Right. So
Yeah, that's true.
That's odd.
the people made away with, obviously, as they always say, an undisclosed amount of money. But I mean, I can't help but to think that somebody was like, oh man, they just sold for $1 billion. Let me go hit them up like the $1 billion is in the brewery. Come on.
They need to have a sign like at the convenience store that says no more than $50 is in the safe.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
No more than $250 million of the $1 billion we just got from this cash register.
Exactly, at any time.
And then there was another article from this is from the Brewers Association when they spoke about there being over 4,000 breweries in the United States, and I guess I know most people saw that article when the Brewers Association. I think they actually put it out today. Most people saw the article and was like, we kind of knew that for 2 weeks now when Altec came out with their report. Because remember, the Brewers Association kept saying that we wanted to be over 4,000 breweries by a certain time, and then now it was kind of like, well, you were kind of already there. Come to find out, there were a lot of breweries that weren't registered with the Brewers Association, and I think registration finally caught up, and it was kind of like, oh wait, we're not at 3,000 something breweries, we're at 4,000 something breweries. So anyway, I don't think that was big news when the Brewers Association released that today, but nonetheless, it's worth mentioning. Linda, you got an article that's probably making a lot of people sad, especially in the Boston area. What you got?
Oh yeah, this was actually about a week ago. It appears that Pretty Things Beer and Ale Project has closed down. I know it's really sad to a lot of us. They they put a lot of heart into their gypsy beers.
So I've only had one beer from them. I visited Boston last November, and I had one beer from them. It was really good. I can't remember what it was because I've had a lot of beer since then, but I do remember having the Pretty Things beer and being like, oh, this is a really good beer. But a lot of people love Pretty Things. I mean, they were kind of considered to be one of the I don't want to say up and coming breweries because they were contract brewers, but their name was definitely one that was recognized.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure
they were definitely on the watch list for a lot of craft brew drinkers.
Yeah.
And I can't help thinking that the brewing thoughts behind it are not completely gone. They said, after 7 years, it's time to draw the curtains and head off to a new adventure. A poorly drawn grain of barley called Jack Dior made this whole thing possible. He'll be coming with us. It makes me think that they're still going to be out there, just in a different form.
Yeah, hopefully buying their own brewery.
That'd be nice.
That's what I was about to say. Some people, like you got some entrepreneurs who thrive off of starting a business and get it going, and once it becomes established, they kind of get bored with it and they want to sell it off, right? I'm hoping maybe that Pretty Things kind of got to that point where they were being a gypsy brewer. They kind of made a name for themselves, and then they were kind of like, we kind of want to do something a little differently. So perhaps they'll come back and open a brewery and call it something else, but with the same people. I don't know. That's wishful thinking. I know the people of Boston definitely want to hear that. So, but Linda, I think they said that they still have enough Pretty Things beer to carry
to last possibly through halfway 2016.
Oh, that's a.
I don't know because people are going to be out there buying it all up. That's true.
Well, I hope those are stouts and barley wines and not IPAs.
Maybe it'll be worth something. We should invest.
I'm not.
You're not?
Nope.
All right.
If it's gonna go through until June-ish, I hope it's not an IPA that they brewed before they close. And
I don't think so.
Maybe it's a bourbon barrel something.
Well, to Pretty Things we say bye-bye. Hopefully it's see you later, right? You'll be back in a new outfit.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And so Pretty Things won't have to worry about dealing with this new FDA mandate that Lola came across. Lola, what you got?
I thought it was a good idea first when I saw the headline. The article's from New York Post, and it says that the FDA is going to require that beers post their caloric and nutritional content for the sort of larger chain restaurants, like I guess Applebee's and stuff like that. And I thought it was a good idea at first because I go to Rate Beer to look for caloric content. But when I was reading the article, a lot of professional brewers said it's really difficult to gauge that, and they'd probably have to buy a lot of equipment to get that kind of information.
Or send it off through a pretty expensive laboratory procedure.
Yeah. I'd say the big problem with that is the room for error in that number. I mean, you can guess pretty good. I mean, if that follows the variance you have in alcohol percentage, that being 0.3% alcohol, that might be okay, but the rules for calories might be much more strict, in which case that would be a real difficulty.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm being a conspiracy guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if this was something that was done by. This is something that the big guys are behind.
Oh,
In efforts to kind of thwart the craft beer movement and try to make life difficult. If Oregon Trail's if you guys are on tap in restaurants in Oregon, then obviously, I mean, you guys are putting out I think you said 300 barrels.
Yeah.
So you guys are a really small brewery, and to have to go through the hoops if you were. I know you're probably not at Applebee's because they only put almost macro beer on, but if you guys were there, you have to jump through all these hoops to make sure your beer stays on tap, and it becomes
impossible.
Yeah, impossible. I mean, and ridiculously not cost.
It is cost prohibitive.
Right.
It is cost prohibitive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely makes the playing field a little even more unbalanced than it already was.
Sure.
It's specifically for the smaller brewers, and I mean I gotta tell you, man. For me, when I go to a restaurant, I don't want to know how many calories in the beer that I'm drinking.
That's not why I'm drinking it.
Right, and so I think that this is going to end up affecting people who are kind of trying to get into craft beer, who are trying something new, and they see this information, and then that's going to be a deterrent. To be honest with you, when they see the calorie intake or the calorie content. But for us, I don't think it's going to matter.
Well, we know, we're like, if you're going to do that big bomber of bourbon barrel aged whatever, just don't eat the next day, or don't eat that day,
Don't have that extra slice of cheesecake.
Don't order pizza at 3 o'clock in the morning. Am I right, Randy?
No pizza place around here is open at 3 in the morning.
Well, all right,
at midnight, however.
How about midnight? Okay. So we know how to work around it. We're smart.
So, in my opinion, I think the FDA, they probably got some bigger fish to fry. They need to stop worrying about this and start worrying about, I don't know, genetically modified salmon that they're putting out right now. I mean, come on, man. There's bigger things to worry about instead of worrying about the calorie content of beer. If you're worried about calorie content of beer, don't drink craft beer. Go drink your Bud Light Lime. Okay.
Or dude, let's put some money into actually deciding what craft beer is.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation, I'll tell you that. So I'm gonna go and talk about some of the beer releases that we have coming up. The Shoots. This is actually one of my favorite beers. I don't know if you can tell, but they're coming out with the Abyss. It's their 10th release. It's coming out on December 17th. In early 2016, they're going to be releasing 2 very limited versions of Abyss. I think they're barrel-aged versions, but I can't remember what kind of barrels that they're in, so be on the lookout for that. Avery out of Boulder, Colorado, they're having their Vanilla Bean Stout release party next week. I want some of that because those guys know how to make a stout almost better than anybody in the game. Stone out of Escondido, California, they're releasing their Stochasticity Grainiac IPA. That was released last week. That one totally flew under my radar as a Stone fanboy. Totally missed that one. Green Flash out of San Diego, their Jolly Folly IPA was just released. Mother's Brewing out of Springfield, Missouri, their Making Trouble Double IPA was released on yesterday. Dry Dock out of Aurora, Colorado, their Single Series 2015 Bly's Barley Wine was released today. And Hardywood Park out of Richmond, Virginia is releasing their Gold Rush Barrel Aged Saison re-fermented with unpasteurized Gold Rush cider. So
That's
a Saison,
mouthful.
that is, a Saison re-fermented with a cider. That's what we released on November 21st. I'm not a big Saison fan. However, I would try this beer if I come across it.
I like ciders. I'll drink it.
Sure.
Winter, you guys have anything coming out that you want to mention?
Only that, I guess, all Core Valley's collaboration beer that we got coming up.
Okay, inclusive.
Yeah, inclusive, yes.
Yeah, inclusive beer. All right. Festivals we got coming up. We got a short list here. We got the Portland Holiday Ale Festival in Portland, Oregon, and that's December 2nd to the 6th. So that started yesterday. It's gonna go through Sunday. How far are you guys from Portland? Well, through Saturday. My bad.
About 90 miles.
Okay.
But to my car.
Linda's certainly not riding her bike there.
No, right there.
Take a Greyhound.
I'll be sitting wistfully at home drinking Oregon Trail.
We'll drive up there on my Shadow 500. It'll go great.
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic with all the ice storms.
The Winter Beer Festival in Seattle, that's going to be starting tomorrow and going through Saturday. The Brewmore Craft Beer Tasting out of Baltimore, Maryland. See what they did there? Brewmore, Baltimore. See? That's going to be on Saturday, December 5th. And the Valley Forge Beer and Cider Festival in Oaks, Pennsylvania. That's going to be on December 5th. Winter, you guys have any festivals coming up in the outside of the Portland holiday? Well, that's 90 minutes away, so 90 miles. You guys have anything coming up?
What's Dave doing?
As far as the Oregon Trail Brewery goes, no.
Okay.
However, we contract brew for Awesome Ales. They're going to be the Holiday Ale Fest. So I helped brew and cellared their Russian Imperial Stout, which has got a twist in that it uses Brett Trois to ferment it, and then Madagascar vanilla. That's going to be there. Brewed here, but not an Oregon Trail beer.
You know, they say bacon makes everything taste good. I'm gonna assume that any beer with Madagascan vanilla beans, that's not an IPA, of course, it's probably gonna be good. So if it's a porter or if it's a stout and it has vanilla beans in it, buy it.
Sounds good. Drink it.
Yeah.
Are you saying that an IPA with vanilla can't be good?
Challenge.
I'll tell you that.
Challenge?
I'm probably not gonna buy an IPA with vanilla in it. You tell me a hop that vanilla beans go well with, and I'll buy the beer.
Columbus, but only when it's older. You get a lot of mango out of Columbus once it's got a couple months of age on it. I think like mango and vanilla could go real good together.
Well,
you need the right kind of malt bill to go with that though. Like a CDA with Columbus and vanilla bean, that'd be wonderful.
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna renege on what I just said, and I'm not buying that. So, guys, that's gonna wrap our show for us. Be sure to join us next week. We're gonna have next week we had Dewclaw on the show. I don't know, was that like three or 4 months ago? Dewclaw out of Baltimore-ish, Maryland, Baltimore area. We're gonna have them back on because their flagship beer by default is Sweet Baby Jesus. It's their chocolate peanut butter porter. Well, now they're coming out with an imperial version of Sweet Baby Jesus, and they're calling it For Pete's Sake. And so this should be available in all the stores within all their states within their distribution footprint. You know, they had the whole thing with in Michigan for calling the beer Sweet Baby Jesus. Well, this one's For Pete's Sake. This one's safe. This one can go on the shelves even in Michigan. So be sure to join us next week when we have Dewclaw on, when they're going to be talking about their Imperial Chocolate Peanut Butter Porter. So until then, find some great friends, get some great beer, and mind those P's and Q's. And a special thank you to you, Winter, for spending some time with us tonight. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Cheers,
I appreciate
everybody.
you. Cheers.
You're more than welcome.